Hey leaders, Pastor Jeremy here. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video, listen to these important updates, and just invest in yourself as a leader as we dive into just a helpful coaching tip for group leaders and how you can apply it to your group. The very first thing I want to say is I just really appreciate the fact that we've got leaders like you who create space to help invite people in. We wouldn't be the campus we are without groups who are doing the hard work of discipling people, helping them take their next steps, helping with recruiting to get them to start to serve or take their next step or give or whatever their next step towards a Jesus-centered life may be. We couldn't do that without the community, without leaders, without people that circle up and don't just sit in rows. So thank you for what you do. I'm going to dive right into our leadership topic for the day, which is how to have difficult conversations in group. As small groups leaders or as grace group leaders, one of the things that you have to do is protect the boundaries and the health of your group. And one of the ways that groups can become unhealthy is when you've got one or two or maybe even a bunch of people who are doing things that are just out of bounds for what would be considered a healthy group. A good example would be every time something starts to get serious, that one person starts to make a joke that derails a serious conversation, makes it lighthearted, or every other person in the group is participating and diving in, and then this other person just sitting in the corner, arms crossed, putting off the vibe, don't talk to me, I don't want to talk about this, or I don't want to be here. Maybe it's someone who's chronically late or constantly misses. Or maybe it's the people who get overly political in group or say inappropriate things. Whatever it may be, us as group leaders have to have the courage to confront this person and have a difficult conversation about it because we love them, because we care about them, and ultimately because we love our group and we want our group to be amazing. So I've got 5 steps that can be really helpful in having that difficult conversation. And with these 5 steps, I would encourage you, especially if this is something that you don't do on a regular basis in your group, is when you realize you need to have this conversation, do it quick. Don't wait weeks and weeks and weeks. Plan to either do it later that day or maybe the next time you guys meet or when you see each other at church on Sunday, but either write down on a note card or on your phone, just jot down how you want to approach these 5 steps. And the first step is address the behavior, not the person. One of the things that we want to avoid is coming across as attacking that person, saying you always, or you're this way, or because you blank, but get really specific and say, hey, when this happens, when you behave in this way, and address the behavior. So if you're talking to me, you say, hey, Jeremy, when you constantly nod your head and say, yeah, in a conversation with the people in the group, you're communicating that you're not patient and you don't care what they have to say. Hey, you just addressed in a specific behavior on my part. This is really helpful. 2, then what you do is once you've addressed the behavior, you try to help them see how that behavior affects the people in the group. Hey, Jeremy, when you use those really raunchy comments or jokes during group, it just makes everybody else feel uncomfortable. Or hey, when you don't participate and everyone else is participating, you make everyone else in the group not feel comfortable and safe to have the conversation. Hey, when you deflect whatever the conversation is away from the serious and onto the joking, you're sending the signal to everyone else in our group that our group is not the kind of group where we get serious and we talk about these things. So first, you address the behavior. Second, you tie it in to help them understand how that behavior affects the group. Third, what you want to do is just ask specifically what you would prefer them to do. Don't just call it out. Don't just slap them in the hand or anything like that. Explain what it is, explain how it affects your group, and say, hey, I would just prefer that you don't say jokes like that. I would just prefer that you don't deflect. If you're starting to feel uncomfortable, that you just hold in on that joke and you save it to later, or you decide, hey, I'm just not going to focus on deflecting. And then fourth, what you want to do is you want to give them permission to say, hey, how do you feel about that? What do you think about this? Do you feel like I'm being unfair? Do you feel like this is not true? I'm making a big deal out of a small thing? And give them a chance to respond. We don't want them to feel like this is just a unilateral judgment on their character or their participation in a group. We want to give them a chance to respond so there's actually conversation. And lastly, I want to make sure that we end with a cherry on top and say, hey, thank you for listening to this conversation. Thank you for allowing me to talk to you about this. And I really appreciate the fact that you're in the group. Like if it's someone who's joking around or saying inappropriate jokes, you say, hey, I love that our group has fun, and our group has fun because you throw out jokes. So I'm really appreciative that you're a part of the group. I just wanted to kind of tone down the inappropriate jokes for a while. Or hey, I love the fact that you're passionate and you care about the politics you do, but could you save that for outside of the group discussion with the conversations you're having with people one-on-one, either before or after group. And so you're basically walking through, again, you're addressing the behavior, not the person. You're explaining how it affects the group. You're asking specifically for what you'd prefer them to do. Fourth, you're giving them a chance to respond and to genuinely listen to them. And fifth, you're reaffirming your value, your appreciation for them. I hope that this was helpful. I hope this helps you maybe tackle the next conversation you need to have with someone that's in your group, because if your group is going and there's these issues that are happening, one of the things that's true about leadership is we get the group that we tolerate, not the group that we want. And so we've got to be the ones that have the courage and the strength to initiate those conversations in a loving, gracious way. There's also a great thing to keep in mind if you're worried about how they will respond. It's a quote that comes from Max Lucado that I want to read to you. It says, the weaker person controls the relationship, the stronger person controls the response. And what they mean by that is the weaker person can say, that's it, I have it, I don't want anyone telling me what to do, I'm out of this group, I'm leaving. There's nothing you can do about that. But the stronger person has the ability to control the response. So the response can be gracious and kind, and after that conversation is over, the response to the relationship can be healthy. And you as a leader hopefully can be that strong person in that situation when you have to have a hard conversation. Well, I've got a couple of highlights and announcements that I want to make. The very first thing is that the message guide is attached in this email, so feel free to scroll down, download that, print it off, read it from your phone. If you have any questions about that, feel free to hit me up. Here, the next thing I want to talk about is the visit schedule. I want to visit every single group, and I'm not checking up on anybody, I'm not snooping around, I'm not suspicious about bad groups or anything. I just want the chance to get to know people in some smaller, intimate environments, because I'm still relatively new here at Grace Licking Heights, and I haven't met everyone, and most of my exposure to people who aren't in kind of a higher levels of volunteer leadership is left to Sundays through intermittent conversations or in passing. This is just a great way for me to get to know people. As we get closer, I'll email you kind of what the agenda looks like and how much time I want to have to be a part of a group. It's going to be pretty minimal, so don't worry about that. But in the email below, if you scroll down, you'll see the schedule that I have. I'd love for you to quickly review it and let me know if the dates that I proposed for your group will or will not work, so that I can reschedule according to your group. And last thing I want to do is it's been a part of our culture for a while for groups to sign up to tear down once a semester. And I would like to ask for every group, if they can, to take 2. And the reason why I want us to take 2 is because as we're getting closer to the summer, we're going to have a drop-off point when school ends. But to get there, I'm really trying to make sure we steward our setup and tear down team's energy and excitement, because they're going to be a part of the process of moving into the building, and they're going to be working hard, and they've been working hard for years. And so this is just a way that we can express our gratitude to the setup and tear down team for waking up at 5 a.m. every Sunday and being there around 6:30 so that we can have a great Sunday service. So would you just talk to your group and really press home the vision for why we're trying to do this, that we're trying to one, say thank you to the team, but also to prepare for the building. And this is one of the most important ways that your group can participate in the preparation for the building, is to just take that little extra load off the setup and tear down team shoulders by signing up to volunteer twice between now and when school ends at the end of May. Thanks so much for being leaders. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I've gotten the process where I've started to really got to know most of you guys coffee or through trainings, and I'm just so thankful and appreciative for the team that we have at Licking Heights, for the privilege I have to be a pastor as a part of Grace and to be a campus that's full of great people like you. So if you have any questions, hit me up. Otherwise, have a great week, survive the crazy cold, and I'll see you soon. Bye.